Hello and welcome. My name is Kit. I am a relationship expert and I use a variety of different modalities to better relationships. And today I'm going to give you a quick and easy and simple introduction to human design. Depending on how long you have been fascinated or immersed in human design, you will know that it only gets more complicated the deeper that you get in. So to break it down, and it's going to be a quick and short introduction to make sure that nobody feels like this is too hard or this is something that I will never be able to utilize myself or this is something that I will never be able to grasp. I want to break it down by telling you how I approached human design. So I found it about 2 years ago and I was immediately intrigued. I'm a projector. So the whole waiting for an invitation, the whole much more of a passive nature just felt, it resonated on such a deep level because I'm like, well, that's why I have, again, this might sound too complicated, but bear with me. It's gonna end up making sense and you're gonna be able to apply it. But not today, but like following this little series that I'm gonna start right now. But I'm also like 3 out of my 4 variables turns right, which means more of a passive, intuitive, receiving kind of energy instead of the action-oriented and masculine and forward-moving energy. So the projector thing very much resonated with me. Wait for the invitation, which I fairly quickly grasp in the terms of, I understand that I don't need to sit back and wait for, every little thing. I don't need to wait for someone to invite me to eat when I'm hungry. I don't need to get an invitation or receive an invitation to figure out what to wear in the morning. I was aware that it's the bigger things, that it's the not preaching, that it's the, if someone have asked for your opinion, share it. If they haven't, just don't share it. And advice and guidance and all that type of stuff. I learned that a long time ago that, preaching and trying to teach people things that they're not ready for, that they don't really connect to or resonate with, is not really going to get me anywhere. So I understood the waiting for the invitation part, and my I'm blanking. Sorry guys. I'm just human, right? So my strategy is to wait for an invitation. And the way that a projector, which you might already know depending on your type, is if I feel successful, then I'm in my self-theme, and my not self-theme, which means that I'm somewhat out of alignment, somewhat out of balance, is when I feel bitterness. This took me a little longer to kind of wrap my head around what bitterness felt to me, and I listened to podcasts and I did all the things and I Googled and I watched YouTube and read on websites and whatnot. But then I heard everywhere, you need to follow your strategy and listen to your authority and figure out whether you are in your not self-theme or if you're on the right path. And it just didn't really feel fun. Like, okay, so I can sit here and wait for an invitation. And some people say that the invitation comes when it's big moments where like a manifestor also doesn't have an urge like every other second. They might have to wait a little longer. And for the manifesting generator and the generator, that kind of sacral response is just there all the time. So I felt like, well, they can navigate all the time and I have to sit here and not really do anything. And at the same time, I'm a splenic projector. I'm a 3-5 splenic projector. And the spleen and listen to your intuition, like that subtle inner knowing was just, it's hard to grasp. And how do I start, right? So I decided to explore more and deeper because I want to know all the things. I'm also a Gemini moon, just to for you guys out there who know stuff about that, I am a sponge for information, and I love learning, and I cannot get enough of information. So obviously, as a projector, I dove in deeper into all the others because, and this might be somewhat relevant to you too, I learn best when I have something to compare something else to. So it was very easy for me to, even though I don't have my sacral defined, so I don't have a sacral response, it's somewhat more tangible to kind of compare a sacral response to a splenic authority, because sacral response, it's physical and it makes your body do certain types of things, where the spleen, it's just subtle inner knowing. It's basically your intuition. So that gave me a sense of, okay, it's very quiet, right? And it's not a sensation in my body like some people might have heard that the intuition is. Obviously, it can feel like that for you, right? That's something that I really, really, really want to underline and really, really want to stress. Every single person, if you have a knowing and a feeling that your splenic authority speaks to you via your sacral, that's totally fine. Like, obviously this is a divine system. So if a divine system cannot empower us to be divine and interpret however we want to interpret things, then what do we need this, divine huge system for? So that is also why I started out by saying this is my experience, because I want you to make your own experience and not like, well, can I then do this, or is this allowed, or all these types of things. So I dove deeper. I looked into all the other types, and then I dug into the centers. Like, what centers do I have defined? I'm fairly open. I only have 4 centers defined, so there's a lot of openness to me. Okay, so what does open means compared to closeness means? What do I resonate with in my chart? I have 3 defined channels in total, 2 of them going from my throat to my ajna, which totally makes sense. There's so many words that wants to come out. I have so many things to share. I have so many things to say. So that totally made sense to me. I looked at the variable. I figured out that mountains is my determination, and that absolutely makes sense. I don't know why I always want to go up high, and that just makes sense to me too. So for me, my experience to really fall in love with this system was to not take it step by step, but do whatever felt interesting and exciting and what resonated with me, obviously, because a lot of us, I feel like when we find human design, either it's too complicated or we resonate on like this deep level, and then we see there's so many things that we can go into. And my experience was that it almost became, at one point it became overwhelming. I had to kind of leave it for a couple of months because it sounded so simple when other people were talking about their gates, when they were talking about their defined this and undefined that. And to me, and then I figured out that, the gene keys had been downloaded after, and that was like such a big part also of human design. And me being Danish and English is my second language, it becomes, and even for native speakers, like the Gene Keys book is not an easy read, right? So this part of this is it's me giving you permission to jump all over and to take what feels fun and go with it and explore it and feel it and think about it and contemplate it and look at the variables, even though you haven't deconditioned for 7 years, and even though you don't know how to follow your authority yet, and even though you don't really know what it feels like to to have an urge as a manifester, or to figure out to wait a whole lunar cycle like a reflector. Like, go with those little parts that kind of pulls you in, because at one point, I don't want to say it all comes together, but when you give yourself that permission to just go and have fun with it, even though in the beginning it might just be like, I have a defined solar plexus, which means that I need to be able to figure out how to ride my emotional wave, and not asking myself how my emotions make sense, or why do I feel like this day, and why am I so moody even though everything is going great. And those little teeny tiny parts, there is no right or wrong, starting the wrong place, starting the right place. It's all, that's what makes it so incredibly fascinating, right? And what I want to end this video with, because I want to make it sweet and short and simple, is that to kind of tie this relationship part into it, the first, I always say, it all ends, no, it all starts and ends with you. So for you to have any type of good, functioning, well-balanced, great relationship, you need to know you. And before you start diving deep into your partner's human design chart, you need to understand how it feels for you. You need to understand what triggers you and what irks you and what makes you happy and what makes you sad. And maybe not necessarily in terms of human design, but just the most important relationship you will ever have is the relationship that you have with yourself. So with this, I'm gonna end because it's getting a little longer than I want it to be. But yeah, this was the first video of many, and this is just one modality. I'm also very much into astrology. I'm also very much into tapping these days, and I am also very much into shadow work, very, very heavy into shadow work, and I'm gonna create more content about that. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.